What's up, disc golfers? Joe here with Joe's Disc Golf, and all right, here we are. We are continuing on our adventure for today. And, this intro's a little weird, but that's because, again, things at the Joe's Disc Golf YouTube channel have changed a little bit. Won't get too much into it right now, but in a later episode, yes, I will. I promise. I know, I keep saying that. It's Thursday when this comes out, and I am running out of days of the week. But that's okay. Monday is the first day of the week. The weekend ends on Sunday. So therefore, your start of the week is Monday. Fight me. Dare ya. What up? So, anyway, here we are. Just talking about some fun stuff. Yesterday, that was a serious topic. That was rough. There's apparently more still going on. Some pros have taken stances and said things and done things that I haven't had a chance to look into. This is all coming up right before I'm ready to record. So, of course, I'm not prepared, and I want to be as informed as possible when I do talk about things there, but not quite there yet. So, what we are talking about today, two things. Pros leaving. Two pros. Two. One. Two. I see four. Two. For those of you listening to the audio version of this, that made absolutely no sense. That was just me holding up four fingers instead of two because counting is hard. Don't worry, in my job, I only need to count to 10. That's why I have 10 fingers. But two pros have left. AB, Anthony Barella, has said that he is parting ways with Innova, and Paige Shue also announced that she is parting ways with Dynamic Discs. So, let's get into the more recent of the two. AB posted on, I think it was Instagram. He said that he had just played a tournament. I believe he said he won. I don't have it all up in front of me because this has all got lost in the shuffle because all of this happened like 2 hours before the PDGA decided to break the disc golf subreddit, disc golf Twitter, disc golf YouTube, and just break that. I won't say the internet because we love disc golf, and you're watching this because you love disc golf, and disc golf is your life. It's my life, but it's still pretty niche. I mean, there's 200,000 registered PDGA members, somewhere in there, 250,000, a couple million play, but don't watch it like you do because you're awesome. You're a super fan. You're super duper fan. You're awesome, and I appreciate you. So posted hey, did this. It's bittersweet because this is one of the last tournaments or the last tournament that I'm playing that I am with Innova. So that's how he announced it. No idea where he's going. No idea what he's going to do. He did put another post up that said that, he loves the time he spent there. He spent 9 years or something like that. He got picked up as a junior when he was 13, noticing a trend. People who've been there for a while. He's 22, give or take. Still young gun there. Looks like ancient history compared to those Alden Harris and Gannon Burr. I mean, he is just over the hill at this point. Golly, 22? Golly. But said that, it was bittersweet. He doesn't want to leave Innova, but he has to do what's right for him. So he thanked everybody for their awesomeness and everything like that. And to my knowledge, Innova didn't say anything because they don't say anything. That's not the company they are. Right, wrong, or indifference, that's not really who they are. Somebody might have posted something by the time this comes out and I didn't see it. I apologize, okay? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. They're just not known for their social media presence. They're not like Dynamic Discs or to a certain extent Discmania. So, it is what it is. Now, where's he going? We don't know yet. He had the opportunity to leave a couple years ago when Paul left and Adam Hammies left to go to Discraft, but he decided to stay, partly because he didn't want to be in the shadow of Paul Macbeth. He'd been called, Mini Paul, Young Paul, Little Paul. His form, a lot of his technique is very similar to Paul Macbeth. So I could understand why he wants to try to make a name for himself. And he is slowly, I would say, taking the more typical path of a pro and where he is not just bursting onto the scene like, say, a Gannon Burr, who is just all of a sudden just like, hey, yeah, he had a good year last year, to holy crap, how is he winning so much? And he's 17, 16, 17, right in that area. AB is kind of taking the more traditional linear path. His upside is he's going to be a fantastic disc golfer, but he's doing it in what I would say is a normal progression. Now, where could he go? He could go to Discraft, because we don't know how much money he has been offered by somebody else. We don't know what Innova declined to match, because they're looking at his past performances and going, hey, what have you done for me lately? You haven't been winning. Not that he's doing bad. Please don't take this the wrong way. It's not that he's doing bad. It's just that he's not winning, and he's not ending up consistently in the top 5, top 10, top 15. He is up there. He is doing well. And in the right courses, he is performing like a top pro. You just can't quite get over that win hump. Just gotta get over that hump. Just a little bit. Come on. I know you can do it, buddy. I know you can do it. So he could go to Discraft, but then he has to live in the shadow of Chris Dickerson and Paul Macbeth. So it could be possible. He could go there, and Adam Hammies, and he could talk to Paul and Adam and go, hey, I threw this destroyer and it flew like this. What's comparable here at Discraft? This is, I threw the T-Bird that flew like this. What's the same? I threw the Firebird. I used to putt with this AVR. What's here? What do I got? What are my options? What would be the best transition to go from what I threw there to what I threw here? Now, there is speculation he could go to something like Infinite Discs. He does have a good relationship with Drew Gibson, so he could basically just keep his bag, and then if he felt like something was missing from his Innova bag, he could go, all right, I never really had a Felon. I didn't like the way the Firebird felt for whatever reason. I'm just making something up that I know is comparable, okay? At least theoretically comparable. I know. You could get all the different runs of Firebirds and they could all do 1,000 different things. But you can say like, hey, the Felon, I never, that's something that I felt like was missing. Or the Buzz, I felt like that was missing. Or the Zone, or the Harp, or insert something else. Or one of Drew Gibson's finish line discs. Or something else entirely. Maybe he wants a P2 to putt with. Maybe. I don't know. Although Innova, I guess, kind of has that, sort of, because they had all the molds. So, from Discmania, whatever. So he could go there. Lone Star Discs is an option because they've been saying now for the past 2 weeks or so, give or take, that they have a big signing coming. And they probably have some cash left over because they probably got Nico for pretty cheap. Because, let's face it, Nico's stock was not that great because of what happened with the suspension and everything. Now, he doesn't have that suspension. He probably fetches a pretty penny. He's also probably still with Clash Discs and Gateway at the same time, but not so much anymore. So they probably have some money to throw around. He could go to Prodigy, join the young guns that are over there. The, Alden Harris and Kevin Jones, who's not really a young gun, and Gannon Burr. He'd be in Gannon's shadow, but you never know. He could go to MVP. He could be kind of in the shadow of James Conrad, but James Conrad could be a pretty solid mentor because Conrad is a fairly solid player. He's a solid player. Like, he isn't flashy. He isn't up there winning. But if you look at his top 10, top 15 finishes, he's up there a lot. And he does well. So there's that. He could go to Discmania and live in the shadow of Simon Lizotte, who's kind of half touring. Eagle McMahon, who the hell knows what he's doing next year for a tour. He skipped most of this year. Could he come back next year? I don't know. I hope so. He's been pretty silent in terms of, what's going on in his life there. He could be, Dynamic Discs /Latitude /Westside. I don't know what kind of money they have. Dynamic discs, you only got Ricky at the top on the men's side. There's kind of a big gap there that he could fill between your top tier and then that second tier down. He could go there if Dynamic Disc can afford it. Or they could lump him in, like, say, West Side Discs. I think they have some money. They have Matty O there. Great player. He could go to Latitude 64 and kind of work out on the US side. They don't have much going on. They don't. I mean, they've got great European players who can come over here, but who knows? I don't know. Some of the states here in the US are starting to lock down again, or at least some of the cities. So hell if I know what's going on. They could, some European countries could do that too. Maybe not. We don't know. So what is the most likely scenario? I don't know. I've got this feeling that he's going to be tripping over to some LSD, Lone Star Discs, or Lakeshore Drive. So there's kind of my thoughts on that one. I don't know. That's kind of what it seems. We'll see here. Beginning of January is going to be interesting. As pointed out by Brody on the Debate Night podcast, he said it, and I agree with it, and I didn't realize I agreed with it, or was even thinking this until he said it. You have one of those moments where you're just like, I think exactly that. I had no idea. Like, you didn't realize how much you hate the Green Bay Packers until someone says, I hate the Green Bay Packers. And then you go, yeah, Packers suck. They're awful. They're terrible. The Bears. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember exactly how it went, but like, there's a trend of players in December, this year at least, saying like, I am not going to be with this company anymore. I am changing sponsors. Tune in January. Now, for those of us in the disc golf media, the disc golf news, the journalists, this is the fun time. This is where you go, all right, AB's leaving, Paige Shue is leaving, a whole bunch of other people are starting saying like, hey, I am leaving X company. Come back in January. Now I've got plenty of content. I've got content to talk about crazy speculation, like moving on to Paige Shue, who had been with Dynamic Discs forever and a day. I believe like 13 or so years. Her dad is the president, I believe, at Dynamic Discs. Her mom also works at Dynamic Discs. I don't know if she has any siblings. They probably work at Dynamic Discs or are associated with Dynamic Discs somehow. She announced that she is leaving. And in the social media post, in the video that Paige Shue posted and a separate video that Dynamic Discs posted, it sounded like an amicable separation. Like, hey, it was a good run, 13 years, world championship. Good job. Hate to see you go. We'd love for you to stay, but hey, that is what it is. Things change. We change and it goes on. That's what it seemed like. Then she did an interview with Charlie and Josh on the Upshot, where she let a few things trickle out and allowed us to speculate. And I don't think any of it was intentional, because she had mentioned that, there is no contract signed yet. They're still working out the details, and she doesn't want to say anything. She can't say anything because there is like nothing to say. And if she says, hey, I'm working on a contract with X, then that probably could screw things up somehow, some way, some shape and form. Okay. Now, we've got some options here. Some things that she said first. She, as Brody put it, and again, I agree with this, during that podcast, she never threw them under the bus, but she did kind of give them a nice little hip check. Basically like, hey, these are the things I didn't like. She had to run so many events, had to do so many signings, had to have certain social media presence and posts and all that kind of stuff. And she didn't like doing that. She didn't like the fact that there was long lead times on trying to get discs from Latitude 64, who manufactures all of Dynamic Discs. But, that's something that all of those players have to contend with. If you want something that isn't in stock, you're going to have to wait, which sucks. And who knows how much of this has to do with like the COVID stuff and all that, because 2018 World Championship, 2019 went well, got pregnant, had a baby, stayed home, COVID, all that stuff. You know, being a mom, good for her. That's awesome. Like, I don't know how she managed to do the tournaments and stuff as a mom and with her kid and all that stuff. Like, I hats off, a tip of the cap to you, my good lady, because that's impressive. I could not imagine spending that much time away from my daughter. So I can only imagine what it's like for a mom to do that. So yeah, there is that. So she didn't like some of those things that Dynamic Discs had her do. And she did say that she didn't even give Dynamic Discs a chance. She said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that she just went out and found someone and didn't even come back and say like, hey, I went to X company and they're offering me this money. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. And they're giving me an RV, or they're paying for all my gas for my RV and paying for half of it or something, whatever. Didn't even go out, get an offer, come back and say, hey, this is what I got. Can you match it? If not, toodles, peace, deuces, whatever. I'm gone. No, she said, nope, I'm just gone. I'm gone. She didn't like it. And I'll be curious. I'm curious what, I'm guessing the things she mentioned in that podcast were the things she really didn't like, but I'd be curious, you know, what's going on there. So things that she said that we're going to use to try to do some internet sleuthing to find out who she's going with. Now, right off the bat, she said that she hated waiting for all of her discs and how they had to travel from outside the US. So that immediately eliminates Castoplast, Discmania. I don't think she'd make a lateral move to Westside or Latitude. Lateral move to Latitude. But theoretically, you know, those are all gone. Clash discs also out. Now, I'm only going over like the big ones that I think could afford to put her up. Something else she said, that her and her husband would be going to the same place. That's the way she made it sound, and it could be just that they're sharing this RV or they're sharing whatever, because she did say that they're going to get an RV. Now, something else she said, that the company had better consistency than Dynamic Discs. Now, in my opinion, Dynamic Discs has some of the best consistency. Now, so that can immediately rule out Innova, because let's be honest here, Innova is known for their inconsistencies. If you want a destroyer to do just about anything from being crazy overstable to crazy understable without ever having to beat it in, you can find it. You can go, I want this run of this plastic of this one, of this tour series, and it'll probably do something like that. You know, I want the Heimberg destroyer. I want something beefy. I want the General Champ one, the General Champ destroyer, and it'll do something. You know, it's all that kind of stuff. That was one of the big reasons why I stopped bagging Innova, as a side note, because of their inconsistency. Because I would throw it, I'd love a boss, and I'd throw it, lose it, buy another one, flies completely different. And it wasn't like, oh yeah, I had a couple times, like, oh yeah, I had that boss for like 2 years, 3 years. Okay, whatever. No, I had this one for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Barely hit any trees, not enough to make it that big of a difference. So we can immediately rule out Innova. So who does that leave left in the US manufacturing? Prodigy, Gateway, Mint Discs, Lone Star Discs, MVP, and Prodigy. Did I say Prodigy? I can't remember. Either way. So Gateway, Mint Discs. I don't think I would put Gateway in the same consistency category as Dynamic Discs. I'd say they're close, but you know, tomato, tomato. But I don't think it's Gateway. Just something about it doesn't say Gateway. Mint Discs, I don't think they have a full enough lineup yet. I still think they have a few holes in their lineup of discs. So I don't think that Paige Shue would go there. I could be wrong. I have only thrown one disc from there, and it was great. I love the plastic. It reminded me a lot of like the Tournament X from Westside, or the like hybrid stuff from Dynamic Discs, but also felt like the Royal line. It was very polished, very smooth. Very nice disc. So I could put that up there. It's a possibility, but I think there's enough holes in that one where I don't know if it would happen. Lone Star Discs has said they are teasing some big announcements coming in January, but I also don't think they have enough discs yet. Could be wrong. I don't know about their consistency either. So, kind of out. Discraft is another one that I think I completely spaced on. I don't know if Paige Shue would go there because of if she wants to really step out, and she was on a great climb in her career path. I don't know if Paige Shue wants to go into the shadow of Paige Pierce and Missy Gannon. So I don't know. I could be wrong. They gave Chris Dickerson an RV. Could be the same thing. Roommates. No, I'm kidding. There's also, that leaves kind of Prodigy and MVP. Now, MVP on the women's side, you'd have to contend with Sarah Hokum and Madison Walker. Maybe. Sarah Hokum, still a good disc golfer, still throwing the same shots, getting the similar scores as she was in years past. It's just the field has gotten so much stronger. She has to work even harder to get back on top. But still, that could be an option there. Maybe, maybe not. She did say that the discs have unique flight patterns and unique flights. Gyroplastic, pretty unique. Nobody else really does the overmold. So MVP could be it. They could be still sitting on a pile of cash from all the Conrad commemorative discs that they had there. And MVP, they make some good plastic. They make some consistent plastic. They have a full lineup. Could be it. I'm leaning towards Prodigy, for the simple fact that Prodigy currently does not really have an FPO presence. Now, before you say anything, I know Heather Young, but hear me out. Heather Young's last tournament was the Tennessee State Championship. That was the first weekend in June. Before that, she had played Texas State Championship at the end of March. And that's the end of her year. Her year ended in June. And honestly, she played all those tournaments. She went LVC, Waco, Belton, Texas State's. That was it. Trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. So who knows? I mean, she could be there. If she is, she's a fantastic disc golfer. I'm not trying to take anything away from Heather Young. I'm just simply stating the fact that she didn't tour last year. She just stopped because she didn't know if she wants to do disc golf at this level anymore. It's changed so much in the last couple of years. So Prodigy, if Heather Young has decided to completely step away, as far as I know, at the time of recording here, December 14th, 2022, she is still listed on the Prodigy website. So I can only assume that she's still under contract, and maybe she's going to tour next year. Maybe this time off was what she needed, gets her head on straight, and goes. Who knows? So Paige Shue, I think Prodigy would roll out the carpet for them. And on the men's side, yes, they're stacked. And her husband is also a touring pro. He's 10-10 rated. He's good. Don't get me wrong. Kick my ass any day of the week. But compared to who Prodigy has on the MPO side, he's not going to be anything special. But they could look at it as like, all right, we can get Paige Shue, and basically signing her husband is part of the sign-on bonus kind of thing. They could. Because at least the way she phrased it in the interview is her and her husband are going to the same place. Who knows? I don't know. I want to know what you think, so you got to sound off in the comments down below. All right, and that does it. So, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been Joe, you've been awesome, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.